And we are back with another episode of In the Moment. And I'm your host, Jared Mao. Still shopping the name. I kind of like it. I think that it fits pretty well with my personality, what I want to get out of this channel. And, In the Moment is kind of a corny little phrase, kind of corny little run on my last name, but I think that it's incredibly appropriate because one of the things that I want to do is just help people be in the moment, right? And there are different things that we go through in life that I want to make sure that people know they are not alone in doing. So it's all about shared experiences and making sure that people know, hey, you got somebody that can be here to listen, somebody that's gone through similar things, and somebody that came out on the opposite side and is still in one piece. I wanted to clear up some things from my last video because I was going through when I was going to edit the video and I saw that I said 80 to 100 gallons of water intake is the recommended amount. And I can say with the utmost certainty that is not the recommended amount. 80 to 100 gallons is a hell of a lot of water. And if you are drinking 80 to 100 gallons of water a day, you are probably going through significant kidney dysfunction. You're probably drowning from the inside out, and I can guarantee you're probably glued to your toilet. So, do not drink 80 to 100 gallons of water. That is bad. 80 to 100 ounces, however, way more appropriate. Now, the guideline that we talk about is 1 ounce of body, or 1 ounce of water per half pound of body weight. So, using me as an example, I am a 200-pound male. I need to be getting at least 100 ounces of water a day and then drinking to thirst. I like to drink 128, so a gallon, because I have a stainless steel water bottle that is 64 ounces that I carry with me everywhere that I go. So all I have to do is get 2 of those bad boys down and my day is done. And again, shout out Boozio. You can find them on Amazon, or I'm sure they have a storefront not on Amazon too, but they're awesome. Makes life a lot easier if you just carry something big. Yes, it looks goofy. Yes, people might stare. Yes, whatever. Drink your water. It's the easiest controllable factor that you can add into your day. Water it's going to help you with digestion. It's going to help with your metabolism, energy, sleep, everything. Drink your water. That's not what this video is about. This video is about something a little more complex than water. It's about trauma. Now, that seems like an incredibly aggressive segue into a video, but I can promise that I'm not going to share all of the nitty-gritty details from my life personally. I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. When we're talking about trauma, I'm talking about things like going through parents getting divorced, going through a divorce yourself. I have not experienced a divorce myself. I'm talking about my parents getting divorced, losing a loved one, and things of that nature. I'm not talking about when you stubbed your toe on a coffee table, although that can be an incredibly traumatizing experience in the moment. That's not what I'm talking about. So when I was a kid, in 2003, I would have been 7 years old. At the start of the year, my parents ended up getting divorced. And like a lot of you listening to this video, I would imagine have either gone through that personally where your parents got divorced, or somebody whose parents got divorced as well. It's messy. Even if it's an amicable split, it's still an incredibly difficult thing to go through. And I don't remember much. I'll be completely honest. I do not remember much from the initial split phase. So at the beginning of the year in 2003, I don't remember a lot of that process. I just remember my parents sitting us down, me and my older sister, down in our basement, and they told us that they were getting a divorce. I didn't know what it meant. My sister, who was 11 years older than me, was showing obviously more visible frustration and emotion than I was. So I'm like, hey, what the hell is going on here? And it took me a really, really long time to understand the concept that my parents just weren't going to be together anymore. Like, I remember when my dad moved out. I remember when we moved him into his new home in Elk Point. I remember sharing holidays. I remember splitting time during the week. I remember every other weekend. It was messy, messy, messy. But later in the year, as time went on in 2003, we ended up losing my sister to a car accident. And that is something that is so unexpected, and it's so horrible to even try and comprehend, because she would have been 18 years old at the time. And we just celebrated her 40th birthday on May 28th, which is when I originally recorded this video, but I went back to reshoot it because I did not really like the message that I conveyed in the previous video. And that was, at 7 years old, you have a very, very, very limited understanding of what death is. Outside of, asking your parents what happened to the frog that dad accidentally ran over and is splattered in the driveway. Like, oh, is he going to be okay? No. Limited experience with death. So that was something that took me a very, very, very long time to come to terms with and understand. And there are 5 stages of grief for a reason. And I think that everybody goes through those 5 stages on a different timeline. But I think that it's an incredibly important thing that you go through those 5 stages. Sorry, I'm trying to limit the filler words here. Going through something like that, you can't prep for it. You can't understand how it feels unless you go through it yourself. I know plenty of people that have lost siblings, unfortunately, and even Hannah. I think that's one of the things that we really bonded over when we first started dating. She lost her mom at a really young age. And then when her and I started dating, we were only 3 months into dating, and her dad had been battling small cell lung cancer for, all of 7 months. He got his diagnosis, I believe she said, in January of 2020. And he ended up passing 3 months into us dating. And that is something that if I never would have gone through the experience of losing my sister, I never would have had the mental fortitude to stay. I think that looking back on losing Melissa, it was incredibly difficult. It still stirs up a lot of emotions. But I think that there are 2 things that can happen when you go through something like that. There is a really good response to it, and there's a really bad response to it. A really bad response is, I don't even want to call it a really bad response. I'm not trying to vilify the response that people have to trauma like that, but I think that there is a lot of good that can come from focusing on maintaining a positive attitude. I'm not a religious person by any means. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm not saying that religion is bad. I'm not saying that it's good. I think that it's important that you have something that you believe in. I think that it's important to have faith. I think it's incredibly important to understand that things do indeed happen for a reason. And while it's really, really shitty to go through losing a loved one, I think that it helped me grow as a person and grow into the person that I am sitting here in front of you today. And without going through that, I'm not sitting in front of this mic. I'm not in La Crosse, Wisconsin. I'm not married to the woman that I'm married to. It changed everything. And one of the things that it changed for me is my ability to socialize like a normal kid. I went through a period of time where I was incredibly quiet. And one of the things that happens when you're a kid that has that much pent-up energy, I did not share my feelings with my therapist the way that a 20-year-old adult probably would. I didn't know how to do it. I did not know how to divulge my emotion. I did not know how to put words to my emotion. So it made therapy very, very difficult and very ineffective. And I ended up having a lot of energy that I kept close to my chest. And a lot of that pent-up energy started creating some dysregulation in my nervous system. And that led to ADD, ADHD. I don't know if it actually led to it, but I am without a doubt certain that it played a role in it, because if you have that much dysregulation within your nervous system because of this constant stress on your body, that energy has to go somewhere. And usually it will personify itself as ADD, ADHD, autism, what have you. There's something at the center, and that's stress. So one thing that it did was it changed my ability to regulate my nervous system. So I had to go on medication. So I was on Concerta and Strattera. That does not mean anything to any of you listening. That's just what I was on. That's my stack. Haha. Just kidding. But what it did was it really shut me down. It stunted my growth. It killed my appetite. It made me incredibly quiet in public, and I hated it. And I was on it for, 5-6 years. And it did not feel like the right thing to do. And I eventually got off the medication, hit a huge growth spurt. I was able to socialize. I was able to do all the things that a normal kid should be able to do. It wasn't only the medication that ended up changing a lot of my stuff, though. It was the people that I surrounded myself with. And you are always going to be a direct reflection. Oh my God, I'm like slurring my words. You're always going to be a direct reflection of the people that you spend the most time with. I spent a lot of time around people that were very outgoing, were great in public, had strong social connection. They really taught me what it meant to be able to function as a human being. Like a lot of the people I met in elementary school, middle school, my best friends to this day, the best man in my wedding, Cody Reed, if you're watching this, good to see you, brother. But they had a profound impact on my ability to grow and develop into a kid that was normal. I was able to socialize like a kid should. I was able to express my feelings. I was able to know what it meant to be able to get things off the chest. I still wasn't great at it. And that ended up taking a really dark turn when I got into college. Once you go through a period of healing, you understand what it means to be who you are. I was living my truth. I did not care who knew. Then once I turned 18, you start mixing alcohol in with stuff. You go to college, you meet new people, alcohol's involved. I mean, alcohol changes everything. It's a neural depressant. Like, it makes people depressed. Doesn't mean that it's not fun. I still enjoy beer from time to time. But I think that I was becoming a little too dependent on it, and it started changing the way that I felt. It started killing my confidence. It started just absolutely wreaking havoc on my mental health. And I reached a very, very low point where in 2018, I had contemplated taking my own life. I was ready to do it. And then I had this epiphany where, life gets better. There's light at the end of the tunnel. All it takes is making cognizant change to do what you need to do, to put yourself into a position to see success, to be in a better place, to be happier, all of these things. And it goes back to the response that you have to the trauma. Everybody responds on a different timeline. I'm not saying there needs to be a set timeline how people respond to the things that they go through in their life that are horrible. It took me 22 years to get to the point where I'm a little more comfortable talking about losing my sister, and to the point where I can handle those emotions a little bit easier. But guess what? My parents are still going through the same timeline, and they're not at the level that I'm at because they were far closer to Melissa. And that's the thing, right? Everybody's got a different timeline. Everybody heals differently. But you have to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. You have to see it through a positive lens. You have to be able to frame it in a perspective, or you have to be able to frame it in a positive perspective. No, it is not a positive circumstance, but the way that you respond to it and live your life and make decisions, if they are constructive decisions that are suited to your benefit, you will recover more efficiently. If you go the opposite way, like a lot of people do, and again, not here to throw shade at anybody, not here to call anybody out, not talking shit. If you are becoming dependent on drugs and alcohol, your body is going to give up on itself. You're going to feel horrible. You're going to be less resilient to stress. You're going to be less resilient to certain things that come up in your life. And eventually it sets you back years, decades. It's incredibly destructive. And I am an optimist through and through. I believe that everything happens for a reason. And granted, if you would have asked me that when I was 15 years old and going through the later stages of 15 is a little too old for the later stages of puberty. 13, 14, going through the later stages of puberty and just like experiencing a lot of change at one time and trying to process losing a sister, I probably would have thrown the bullshit flag at you. It's different where you are in life, but I need you to know that there's always light at the end of the tunnel. I truly, truly, truly believe that, because fuck, if I can go through 2003 and come out unscathed and relatively normal and sitting in front of you, you can do anything. But again, I'm not here to make this channel hoorah-rah. I love motivational content. I think it's incredibly beneficial. But one of the things I need everybody to remember that's going to end up tuning into this is motivation is not just an external thing. It's an internal thing. You can't only draw from external motivation, because if you do, you'll eventually run out. Got to be able to spark, got to be able to spark that fire from within. You got to be able to have an internal dialogue with yourself that is constructive and not destructive. But yeah, it's a really sticky situation. There are different things that you can go through in life, whether it's losing a loved one, a battle with cancer, parents getting divorced, yourself going through a divorce. I mean, it's incredibly difficult, and you have my sympathy. You have my utmost sympathy. I want you to know that I am here if you need an ear, but you can't let it define you. Trauma doesn't define you. It's how you live every single day. It's how you surround yourself with the people you surround yourself with. Are they people that feed into your good habits or your bad habits? If they're feeding into your bad habits, guess what? They're probably not good friends to be around. But a lot of it comes from inside, man. And I think that's a really important thing that a lot of people need to hear. You can have this victim mindset, but I don't buy into that shit at all. And it drives me absolutely crazy, because if I don't buy into the victim mindset and I'm here telling you that I got through what I got through, you got no excuse to do the same thing. So that is what this is all about. I want people to know I have gone through fire, I've gone through hell and back, and I have come out on the opposite side. Maybe not normal. I think that if you ask my wife, she'll probably give you a few words to describe me, and normal might not fall into that realm of possibility, but that's life, baby. No matter how you cut it up, it all comes down to the decisions you make after something like that happens. Now, I got to try and figure out a good sign-off for some of these videos. I tried recording this on May 28th, and the significance there is that's my sister's birthday. We just celebrated her 40th, like I said. But I had to go back and reshoot it because I really did not like the message that I delivered. I think that there was a lot of filler words. I wasn't really concise in the message I wanted to deliver. And after a couple days of thinking about it, I think I really found what I wanted to talk about. And one of the things, too, is the length of my videos. For an intro video, 30 minutes is kind of long. Hannah pointed that out to me the other day, and I got to say I agree with her. So from here on out, I'm hoping that I can get these videos to be a little bit shorter, because I know that that'll draw a little bit more. My attention span is not the same as what it used to be. I can promise you that. So I know a 30-minute video is kind of long, but I appreciate you guys taking the time to stick around, listen to what I got to talk about. Like I said, my inbox is always open. My email is, I think, somewhere on my channel. If not, I'll get it put up there. It is jarod4496@gmail.com. There's never a bad time to reach out. Just know you got somebody here that's gone through some similar things. I'm always here to talk, always here to be an ear, and to offer you any advice that I may have learned in my 29 years of life. But for now, this has been In the Moment with your host, Jared Mel. Thanks for listening.